Chapter 7. Bruno rushed back to his market stall. There he found that Monica had done a marvellous job of setting up all the new wares for the day. "Any custom yet, Monica?" he asked. "So far I've had about 10 people who are quizzing me about the new stock and keep picking it up. One lady has bought 2 of our new items. It's the new matching sets of boot cuffs and wrist cuffs which interest them, I reckon. The lady was younger than most of our regular customers. In fact, our old customers have turned up their noses at this new stall. I know I had to twist your arm behind your back to get you agree to Sophia and me changing the cheese recipes at such short notice. So our current stock is the regular food, but the old customers do not like the new clothing lines, so they're refusing to buy the food now, and they say that we've sold out on our traditional reputation," said Monica. "Just as I expected, really. It seems that there's been an awful lot of movement behind the scenes since last month. Do not be put off by the people who are poking around our stock. I feel they've been sent to do that. They are reporting back to base about us. All we can do now is to try and keep the customers happy without giving them any special deals or incentives to buy from us as opposed to anyone else." Bruno dropped his guard with his eldest daughter. Something about the threatening manner of the management staff at his meeting had fired up a primeval survival instinct in him. He confided all the management meeting content to Monica, all about the new tourists from the railway companies and the tokens and entertainment and such. That day, the new lines of clothing proved to be more popular than ever Bruno could have. That day, the new lines of clothing proved to be more popular than even Bruno could have predicted. The Veltheim stall all but ran out of certain matching sets of things, but their food lines would simply not sell today. Finally, following the rules laid out for stall discounts and markdowns, the Veltheims put the food on a reduction. There was a virtual stampede of customers who seemed to come from every corner of the market to buy up their stock. Monica and Bruno could not keep up with the demand for their perishable and preserved food stock. The reduced prices meant that at least they were not operating at a loss, but it was not a sustainable business plan for survival of the Veltheim business name in the future. Monica and Bruno both found themselves feeling more than a little suspicious about the buying practices of their customers. All their regular customers appeared to have been frightened away, to such an extent that Bruno caught the eyes of 3 of his well-known customers and even briefly left the store to shout to 2 of them with a friendly greeting, but they acted as if he didn't exist, hurrying away in the freshly falling snowflakes. One of them went to great lengths to dodge him by turning down a small alleyway in the crowded streets. "Time to pack up for the day, Monica. Thank goodness we made a tidy profit on the new clothing lines. Virtually no one was buying any of our food products at the correctly marked price today. Someone's not very happy with us being here. I know times are hard, but people still need to buy food. I do not have the time to investigate this today. I think we should just take the beating from today. I reckon we've made a small profit. It's only going to be worth it if we stick to clothing, but something tells me that is exactly what they want us to do. However, if we turn up with no food on the sled next month, I bet they refuse to buy our clothing ranges," said Bruno. "Don't get paranoid, Father. It doesn't become you. Here, have a small drink of cider, and I'll make you a roll with some cheese and cooked meats. We cannot let these people get in our way. What about if we keep them guessing about our stock ideas, just as we have done this time on the market? I've got an errand to fetch your accordion anyway. You're better minding the stall on your own. Once it is all packed up, I'll take a turn to mind it until we can cart it all back to the sledge on trolleys, and you can have a break on your own. You don't know all that was said to me in the Rotting Stag's Inn. I won't tell you all of it, but the long and short of it means that we have to submit a fully costed stock list for every stall we hold here at this market from now on. Some people have really got it in for us, Monica. Don't give up, child. As long as you keep having new ideas, I will put them down on the stock list. It won't be up to me what we can sell. I can't see them blocking your new ideas as long as we don't break any of their new rules." With that, Monica put on her great coat as she left her father to pack up the stall. There was still plenty of stock left today. Packaging was always a burden to clear up. A cart came at the end to collect the traders' waste. A team of street cleaners then descended on the cobbled areas, throwing buckets of disinfected water onto the ground around food areas. Packing up time at market was normally when people chatted with fellow stallholders, but today Bruno was left on his own to pack up. He wondered exactly what had happened to earn him this treatment. Once he was considered to be virtually part of the furniture here at the market, now he was a pariah, an outcast. One person did come up to speak to him, however. It was the animal feed stallholder called Matthias Gunther. Turned out to be a strange day, Bruno. I haven't seen a market like it for decades. All the regulars seem to be moving around like puppets on a string, and there's a big influx of younger customers today. Has there been a cull on oldies in this village? I can't make head nor tail of it. The Market Corporation are throwing their weight about today. I sell the usual, as you know, but I've been away on family business since last market and go back home only 2 days before this market. As soon as I got home, I found a stack of mail waiting for me. I simply haven't had the time or the inclination to open any of it until I get back home tonight. In fact, I told my wife to open it all if she had time today while I'm here. And now it looks like she's come helter-skelter down to the market, but I can see now it looks like she's come helter-skelter down to the market because I can see one of our ponies approaching, pulling a sled with her in it. She's looking all afluster. Oh well, she seems to be waving me away from you, and she's got a weird sign like having your throat cut, so I best be on my way and see what she's on about. With that, Matthias was gone. Bruno eyed him carefully in the fading light. His suspicions about the market authorities were aptly confirmed when he saw Mrs. Gunther pointing directly at the Valtime stall and shaking her head. His suspicions about the market authorities were aptly confirmed when he saw Mrs. Gunther pointing directly at the Valtime stall and shaking her head. She was very red-faced, and soon there was an animated discussion between the couple which left them separated and then turned into shouting. Suddenly, 3 market officials descended on the couple, and they were shepherded off the stalls to be taken in the direction of the market officials' offices. Matthias looked back at Bruno with a pained expression on his moustached face. He paused at one point and smiled weakly at Bruno. That weak smile provided a lifeline to Bruno because he realised that despite the paperwork from the market people, Matthias was not going to give up their lifelong friendship on the basis of threats by the officials. If there was some way that he could get to Matthias soon, then he might be able to find out exactly what was going on at the market. Meanwhile, he went about his business in silence, not even whistling as he normally did, and took his time about packing away carefully for fear that someone else might make a complaint about how he left a mess or some such nonsense. At the music shop, Monica listened to the owner. Your father's accordion, all done and dusted. We did some extra bellows repairs since he was losing wind in them. I think you'll find that these old accordions are getting more pricey to repair. Why not suggest to Bruno that he trades in this rickety old dame for a brand spanking new model straight from the factory? We could order him a 128 base model for a small discount, as long as he decides to trade in this knackered old squeeze box today. There's a deal on the new ones, but only if you act fast. Why not celebrate your market success with a treat for your father, said the jovial music shop owner. Take a look at what we've got on offer in the second-hand market if you can't quite afford brand new. Look over here, we've got some fine examples. They're half the price of a new model if you're stretched for cash. I think father is more than happy with the old model. He tells me not to spend a penny more than he gave me, said Monica, as she handed a small packet full of coins, which had been carefully added up to make no more or no less than the repair bill estimate. Ah, there's a wee problem here. We gave your father a quote, and it looks like the bill is going to be some 20% higher than expected. We'll have to wait for a little. If you would just go back and tell Bruno that we did a lot of extra work on his instrument. The bellows was split, so we did a soft leather patch on that. Plus we found 3 of his bass buttons were stuck when we did a workup on the instrument. To top it all, his reeds were more than just a little out of tune. So we've replaced the 3 worst ones and tried to file a little away from the more stubborn, dirty ones which have gone flat. It's not surprising that such an old instrument is playing up, but there you have it. The repair bills will just keep on stacking up if your dad won't fork out on a newer model, I'm afraid. We await your decision on the bill. Of course, if you don't have the cash yet, then we'll keep the instrument here. We could always sell it for you and give you back any spare monies, minus our repair bill and the 25% charge for selling second-hand instruments, which are totally non-refundable, I'm afraid. Well, I suppose you could always trade it in for a fancy harmonica if we don't have the cash, said Monica. Ha ha, we love customers with a sense of humour. Yes, of course, he could probably choose from our cheapest range and get either a nice big chromatic model or go for a set of mouth organs in different keys. We love a customer with a sense of humour. Yes, of course, he could probably choose from our cheapest range and get either a nice big chromatic model or go for a set of mouth organs in different keys if that takes his fancy. Let us know exactly what your decision is, but make it quick because we close in exactly 45 minutes' time and we've got a lot of repair work to crack on with as it is. Time is of the essence, if you see what I mean. Just as the man said this, his cuckoo clock chimed the quarter hour to make it 4:45 p.m, and he laughed as if the cuckoo was echoing what he was saying to back him up. I'll run back to my father and see if we can stump up the extra cash. Don't lock me out if you've just closed, please. We can't get back here for another month, as you know. I've no idea what father will say, but please wait for his decision. He really loves that old accordion, and it keeps him going in these tough times. Well, Miss Veltham, I would advise that you take great haste then. Monica literally ran out of the shop. She tore back to the market with a fresh, heavy snowfall blowing huge snowflakes directly into her face. In her haste, she dropped a glove. Retrieving it saved her life, because she didn't notice a coach and 4 horses that came at high speed around the corner and directly towards her. The shock of such a near miss could be seen in her face, which went pale in shock. She fainted in shock, falling heavily into the gutter. The coach driver, who'd seen her plight, pulled up the 4 fine gelding horses as quickly as he could. Are you all right, miss? The driver shouted from the high vantage of his driving platform. Monica could vaguely hear his voice, but it was all but drowned in her head. She felt a strange feeling as if she was going to be sick. Then she felt dizzy and a fuzzy sort of buzzing sound, and what felt like black curtains wrapped around from some point on the side of her head. Monica was very close to a full blackout, but slowly she felt blood return to her head, feeling something wet trickling down her cheeks and sharp stabbing pains in her knee. She knew that she'd taken a nasty tumble. The icy cold numbed the throbbing pain from her knee, but she knew that it had been badly knocked. Monica next became aware of a figure standing above her with a handkerchief dangling from his gloved hand. Monica accepted the handkerchief to mop up the blood from a nasty cut just above her eyebrow. With the blood temporarily mopped out of her eye, she could better make out the man who had walked over to assist her. She could only see in a hazy fashion that it looked like he was a gentleman in a fine suit, sporting a pocket watch and monocle and wearing impeccably polished two-tone brogues. The gentleman had stepped from the halted coach, leaving his coach driver to guard the contents. He addressed her in perfect English. I say, what a damn fine mess you're in, miss. To whom am I speaking? Miss Veltham, sir, was all Monica could manage as she took the outstretched handkerchief from his gloved hands before groaning again. Listen, young lady, I'm in a damned awful hurry right now, so the best I can do for you is to give you a big shot of my brandy from my hip flask for your shock. I do apologise if I gave you a fright. Monica accepted the brandy offer and took a sharp nip of it. She slowly got to her feet and held her handkerchief close so that she could stop the bleeding from the cut above her eyebrow. She slowly got to her feet and held the handkerchief close so that she could stop the bleeding from the cut above her eyebrow. The pain in her knee was bad, but she realised with relief that she had not broken the knee, but it would swell up. Luckily, the snowy conditions made perfect treatment for the knee, and she was able to pack some snow on the knee joint straight away to fight the swelling and try to numb the pain temporarily. Luckily, the snowy conditions made perfect treatment for the knee, and she was able to pack some snow on the knee joint straight away to fight the swelling and try to numb the pain temporarily. The man found a fruit crate and placed it in front of Monica. He offered his arm, which Monica took. Blood from Monica's eye dripped onto the gentleman's brogues and caught his ankle, staining the very hems in his tailored trousers. You know, Miss Veltham, you do really need to take care when running on foot in such treacherous conditions. I'll leave you my business card. I expect you won't be contactable once we part company. Now, I'm a lawyer, you see, and this is clearly a no-fault situation as far as accidents go. You running without looking, and me going about my lawful business in a damned hurry. I have my driver as witness to back me up that you were not looking where you were going, but I'm willing to give some ground because we're moving with great vitesse. To show my true concern for you, I'll give you a day's wages for the average factory worker around these parts. The man opened a velvet pouch inside a side pocket of his waistcoat and handed over the cash equivalent of 8 hours of labour at a factory. Now, do not get any ideas. I'm giving you a receipt for this cash in case the authorities claim you stole it. You never know. I'm going to get Bernie, my coach driver, to countersign the chitty I give to you with this cash and keep a copy myself. With that, the deal was done. Monica found herself to be the recipient of enough money to pay off the accordion repair bill. Monica mumbled to the English gentleman lawyer a word of thanks. Do you hear that, Bernie? She's thanking us for knocking her over. Priceless, priceless, he said in jovial tones as he made his way back gingerly to his coach, brushing the snow off his shoes and his jacket, and then stepping up the open door to allow him to recommence his journey. See you anon. Do drop me a line if you feel up to it. My name and contact details are all there to be seen. I might be able to help you if there's a reason for your unfettered haste. It isn't every day the young lady falls for me in the depths of winter, he shouted from the window of his coach as it slowly made haste to catch up on the missed time. Monica knew that she had literally 10 minutes to get back to the music shop before it shut. She saw an old walking stick and used snowshoes for sale. In a pawn shop some 100 metres on in her hasty but slippery hobble back to the music shop, and quickly gave the shop staff the price for the second-hand items. With walking sticks supporting some of her bad knee and the snowshoes allowing her better passage in the thickening snow, she made it back to the music shop with only 2 minutes to spare. With blood oozing from her knee wound and down her cheek from her cut eyebrow, she smiled weakly at the shop assistant and presented the chitty to pick up her father's repaired accordion. "I've got the cash to settle the repair bill on my father's accordion now," she said weakly. "We didn't ask you to have a bare-knuckle fight to raise the extra cash," joked the well-dressed manager who appeared with Bruno's accordion. "We'll take your hard-earned cash nonetheless, and not a moment too soon, because I'm about to turn the sign around the door to read 'closed.' I'll play you a nice little sailor's jig on your father's instrument to show you how he fixed the worst of his problems. The bass notes are now responding more snappily, but I'm afraid they're still somewhat woozy and breathy, and although they're in tune, they have an undesirable overtone which could only be fixed by new bass reeds in entirety. But I'm sure that's not what you want to hear, and as long as you're asking the good folks of the village to pay for the dubious privilege of hearing this instrument being played, then I'm sure you'll make do and settle for a better tuned instrument." With that, the shop manager stood with his left foot on a packing case and played 16 bars of a sailor's rig. He finished with a flourish and then quickly put the instrument down, leaving the assistant to fill in the customer's invoice book and carbon copy papers to be put in the accounts pile. "Right then, hope it was worth the trouble to get yourself beaten up," he quipped. "We do have a first aid kit somewhere, but I imagine you'll need more than a few bandages for your wounds, so I'll give you a nice bandage, and here, I'll cut it and tie it around that nasty knee wound. This bandage is all the rage now. It's got padding for the wound, and you leave it on once the wound is cleaned. Have you cleaned that wound yet?" Monica smiled weakly at the bespectacled shop worker. He was being more than just polite, Monica realised with a warmth of spirit that not everyone was out to get her. He was being more than just polite, Monica realised, with a warmth of spirit that not everyone was out to get her. Monica smiled weakly at the bespectacled shop worker. He was being more than just polite, Monica realised, with a warmth of spirit that not everyone was out to get her. Some people, despite the constraints laid on them by their own busy lives, were really trying to help her. Perhaps things would slowly get better for the Valtimes. After all, they seem to be having dreadfully rotten luck at the moment. "I will just wash that knee for you and your eyebrow cut. I think you'll get away without stitches for the eyebrow, but you'll have a nasty scar up there, which you can always cover up with your hair or makeup or such," said the kind shop assistant. "I can give you 10 minutes of my time only, because we're doing a stock take tonight, and it's going to take... I can give you 10 minutes of my time only, because we are doing... I can give you 10 minutes of my time only, because we are doing a stock take tonight, and it's going to take until at least 10 p.m, if I'm lucky. The area manager is coming on the morrow, so we have no time to spare really, but I won't let an injured bird like you fly out without at least giving some first aid." The kind assistant, called Wilhelm, washed Monica's wounds with a clean swab dipped in antiseptic and then coated them in iodine. He didn't like the look of her swollen knee, but realised it wasn't broken. The knee was badly grazed, so he really scrubbed it clean, and it stung badly as he dabbed the antiseptic in. "You know which hazel is good for this sort of thing. I'll put some on and give you some in a little bottle. It's not sterile, but it's fresh. It will do you for a few days until you find something better." Monica knew that the wound had to be cleaned quickly, so she did not cry out, even though the pain was excruciating. "Hope it was worth the hassle of having your dad's accordion fixed. We don't get many customers who get bashed up just to pay an outstanding bill, I must say. Perhaps your father will cheer you up and play for you when he realises how you got the bill paid." Monica asked if she could borrow a little trolley from the shop to take the instrument back to market. "You most certainly can. Just leave me a deposit for it. Once you return it, we'll give you your deposit back. I'll just fill out a little chitty for you, and then it's all done," said the kind assistant. "Can I ask you something?" said Monica to the middle-aged shop assistant. Do you believe in any of the stories about Engelbert elves living in forests or underground in the Alps? Have you ever seen an elf?" And do they bring any musical instruments for repair or buy anything from music shops here in the village? I heard that they're very keen musicians and singers. It's just that Monika's rambling sentences and bombardment of questions tailed off when she realised that she was giving away too much information rather than just pandering to her natural curiosity, just a mine for information. Monika realised she was succumbing to the kindness of the middle-aged assistant. His selfless act of first aid had triggered an emotional response from her. The busy man turned suddenly to cut off her flow of diatribe. We have lots of different customers, Miss Feldheim. I am not at liberty to discuss details about them with anyone. Now, if there's anything else I may assist you with, then please let me know. Otherwise, it's good day to you. We hope to see you soon when you return the trolley for your deposit. A word to the wise, young lady. Do not delve too deeply for information about things that are not your business. We do find that people disappear around here once they start concerning themselves with matters outside of their daily remit. Then he filled in the chitty for the trolley, finished off the bandaging of Monika's wounds, and neatly pinned the knee bandage. You must get your father to change the dressing daily. This dressing should last for a day, but you must check for infection. If it gets worse or swells up badly, then that is a sign that the dressing is too tight, or that the injury's got worse with movement. I always advise keeping mobility, but you're on the right track with using the walking sticks to take some weight off your bad leg and help the good one to bear your full body weight. As for the head wound, we can't do much for the scars you'll have. I really think that could do with some stitches, but doctors are very expensive round here. Perhaps you know a local nurse who'll stitch it up for you. Sometimes there are barber surgeons round who do that sort of thing, but I'm afraid my medical skills do not stretch to stitching up head wounds. If you have bad headaches, then that might be a sign of a worsening head injury, like a blood clot on your brain. So the best thing is to get back to your father as soon as possible. Really, you shouldn't be on your own. I'd assist you, but now that it's dark, only trouble is I could lose my job if I'm not here for the stock take. Can't you get someone else to help you to return to your father? Don't you want a horse and cab, for example? No thanks. By the time it got here, I could be halfway back to my father at the market. He will already be anxious, and I let him down last market day, so I'm going to be in trouble either way, said Monika, wincing with pain. She tried to arrange the accordion and trolley as well as the snowshoes and sticks. The pluckiness of Monika made the shop assistant relent a little about her importune inquiries about Inglebert elves. The only thing I can tell you for certain regarding your questions about the so-called Inglebert elves is that there is an army reservist unit for the Silver Federation, and I'm in it. We do exercises in the Alpine forests and travel somewhat in the summer months. One unit of the reservists claimed to have seen a group of elves in a forest clearing last summer, but that's it. It's a claim and was not verified. Furthermore, I cannot, as I said earlier, discuss any of our customers. Now, if you don't mind, I must get my well-earned cup of hot tea and a bite of beef and ale pie, because it's going to be a long night here. Good evening to you, Miss Feldheim. Oh, and before I forget, I did say that you should pay me a deposit for that trolley, so I'll take it now if you don't mind, because I can guarantee that I'll lose my job if you don't leave me a deposit for that expensive trolley. Please don't forget to bring it back, because I will get the sack if you do not bring it back. With that, the assistant turned the shop sign around, took Monika's deposit for the trolley, gave her the chitty for her deposit as promised, and then ushered Monika inside with the trolley and walking sticks. He'd put some rope around the accordion case to make it more secure. The repair tag was still attached to the case.